Go ahead, put it on real tight. Hope you brought your best tonight. They say they got the fireworks, yeah, they say they got the show. Here around the chutes, you're the best, so let's go.
This is Texas Toast. I'm your host, Miss Helen. Kick back and enjoy as we toast the best from Texas.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Texas Toast. I'm Miss Helen, along with a new artist that I've been previewing music and we've seen some of the music, talked about your music here on the Texas Toast podcast and specifically Texas Tap. But let's go ahead and welcome Clayton Mullen to the podcast. Hello, Clayton. How's it going?
Hi, Miss Helen. Thank you guys so much for having me. Helen and Kyle for reaching out, and I'm doing great.
Yes. So ironically enough, we tried to do this the other day with internet issues. So it was kind of cool getting to visit that day prior to, but now we're going to jump into things and let's just kind of get some of your background and where you came from.
Yeah. So I was born in, or first of all, I'm 21 years old.
Yes.
I'm a senior at Texas Christian University right now. But I was born outside of LA in California. I don't remember any of that. I moved to Villanova, Pennsylvania when I was about 8, and then went to high school up in Boston, Massachusetts, outside of Boston. Back to Villanova, and then I ended up going to school in Texas at Fort Worth, or at TCU in Fort Worth. But yeah, I mean, I think people often think like, oh, you didn't grow up in Texas, how do you sing country music? But I've been listening to country music, I wouldn't say my whole life, but since I had the choice to choose the music I could listen to, I always gravitated towards the Texas country guys like Colby Cooper, Mike Ryan, and like some of those names. I'm starting to get into the older stuff now, but I definitely started off with the younger guys. But yeah, that's kind of how I got to Texas.
Well, so far, all the music that you've put out so far is fitting in really, really good with the Texas country scene. So outside of some of those, well, let's talk about, you're at TCU. What are you studying there?
Yeah, so I'm double majoring in marketing and entrepreneurship with a minor in sales. So I want to go into sales. I've kind of been doing it my whole life, doing little various endeavors and internships and stuff. But yeah, business major.
And that'll come in handy with the music business. That's really going to be like a little extra.
Exactly. I know it's definitely been nice with the sales certificate and minor helping me learn how to talk with people and sell my music, sell myself, all that stuff.
So when did you first start singing? Were you the one that was like 3 years old and picked up a guitar, or did it start later? What's your music story?
I'm sure my mom will tell you that I was always singing because I probably was around the house and in the shower, but I was definitely nervous to sing in front of people outside my family. So the first time I sang like in front of my friends, I was probably like 18 years old. But my dad played the guitar, and he's a very mediocre guitar player, a good campfire guitar player. Like I'd say myself, I think I'm a little bit better than him now. But I'd always fiddled around with the guitar growing up in high school and middle school, but I never actually dove into it. I couldn't play a bar chord until I was like 20 years old, so maybe a year or two ago. And that kind of happened when I tore my knee. So I tore my knee playing basketball. So I had surgery. This is during the COVID craziness. I was in my bed for months. So I went back to the guitar, picked it up, and just started playing every day for hours because I had nothing else to do. And that's when I started really diving into like, wow, this guitar thing is pretty fun, pretty cool. There's a lot of things to do with it. And then, yeah, it's kind of, I guess I didn't really start singing until maybe the first time I sang in front of people was my sophomore year of college. I sang.
So then you took it to American Idol.
Yes. So that's when this whole Clayton Mullen music stuff started outside of just singing in front of people. So one of my roommates, I live with 10 guys, and one of my roommates signed me up for American Idol last August, so almost a year ago. And they liked the audition, so I went on and did the whole American Idol deal.
So what was your experience? I mean, what did you gain from that? What was your experience? Because I know I'll tell you a funny story now. Kate Watson told her story about American Idol, and of course, maybe since yours was yours, I don't know if you were in person or what, but she had to go. I think she went to Denver and stood in the cold for like 12 hours, freezing,
Oh,
waiting to get into audition. So what was your story with Idol?
yeah, so it was really, really easy this past year just because they were still doing the whole COVID
Hmm.
protocols. So my first three auditions were through Zoom.
Okay.
I did like the mass audition, waited 3 hours in a Zoom lobby, just like the one we're in right now, for my shot to audition with a producer. Made it through that one, and then did another round of auditions right after that with another producer. And then I don't remember exactly, but I think my last Zoom one was a couple weeks later, and that's when they said, "All right, you're coming to Austin." So they flew us down for a week to Austin. So I took off school, emailed the chancellor, told him, "Hey, like I'm doing this whole American Idol deal. I might need some passes in my classes just in case my grades start to slip because I'm missing out on that." But yeah, so I went with my dad. I was only allowed one guest. Um, so I brought my dad with me. We went down to Austin, Texas, right on Lake Travis. There were 70 other contestants. I made some great friends with a lot of them. Noah Thompson, actually the winner of American Idol. We were buds. We actually sang the same audition song, funny enough. So um,
What was your audition song?
it was Giving You Up by Cameron Marlowe. And Noah crushed it. He went like two or three people before me. So it was tough to follow up.
Wow, that's interesting.
He got the three S's, I got the three no's, but it seems like we're both making our ways in different paths.
Hmm. Well, I think let's that's a perfect segue into your music. Let's talk about your music and let's get it out there here on the podcast. I noticed that you co-write a lot with Palmer Anthony. He's doing really good. We like his stuff. We've talked about
Absolutely.
him, and I noticed that he was a co-writer on Burnt Orange. Let's talk about Burnt Orange.
Yeah. So Palmer is the nicest guy. He's one of the hardest workers I've ever seen, let alone hardest worker in the music industry, just at like in all aspects of his life. But he has kind of taken me under his wing as I'm like a little brother to him, I'd say
Hmm.
now. But we actually first met. His bassist Brady Koontz messaged me on either TikTok or Instagram to grab a beer. So we went and talked. I had no idea who Palmer was at the time, and he pretty much said like, "Hey, I'm a bassist for a local Fort Worth guy, Palmer. You should check him out. He's really focused on himself, so I can't promise that like he'll like." We were originally talking about me opening for him, and he's like, "No promises, but I'll like introduce you." And when I met Palmer, we just clicked like that. We started like we became best friends. Palmer's been helping me with every aspect of my music career. From like I was just texting him a second ago. He's playing Highway 30 Music Fest. But yeah, he. So wait, you want me to talk about Burnt Orange?
You're doing good. I like what you were saying, but I do want to hear the backstory on Burnt Orange and
Yeah, yeah.
how it came about.
I'll touch on that in 1 second. So the first time I met Palmer, we wrote the song South of Forever. So we wrote that song in like 2 hours. And that was my first ever co-write. So I was like, how does this work?
Yeah, and that's on my list. That's a great song. So go ahead and roll with talking about that.
Cool. So yeah, I just figured it fit because that was the first time we met. But we wrote that song. That was my first co-write, so I wasn't sure how it worked. I was like, hey, I like this song. I'm sure you like this song. Who gets to cut it? And him being like a great guy, he's like, hey man, if this song fits you, you got to go for it. And I was like, all right, how the hell do how do I release it? How do I record it? Whatever. And that's when he opened the doors to my producer, Steven Sharp, who's in Nashville. So Palmer connected me with his producer at the time, Steven, and he was like, hey, it's going to be this X amount of money, which at first I was kind of blown away. I was like, that's a lot. But he said, if you want it done right, you got to do it this way. So he connected me with Steven. And literally from the time we wrote that song, I recorded 4 songs a month later and got them out the next month. So I met Palmer in maybe November, December, recorded the songs in December, maybe early January. And I think the first one was released February 28th, maybe is that right? February 26th. I don't know, but it was very, very fast. So that's kind of the story behind South Forever.
Yeah. South of Forever. That's a great solid song. And one of the songs that we've already talked about here on the podcast is Maker's Mark.
Right. So the story behind Makers ties back to the Idol experience. When I was on American Idol, I met a bunch of awesome guys. Noah Thompson, and then Caleb Lathrop. So Caleb is a 22-year-old kid from Oregon, and he sang this song, Maker's Mark is his audition song. He wrote this song, and he also got 3 no's. And his experience on Idol made him have a bad taste in his mouth about that song, Maker's Mark. He kind of was second guessing himself. And when I went up to Nashville to record, I was originally going to record South Forever. My guitar was drops tonight. I'm sure we'll touch on that later. And South Forever, or that's it, South Forever, my guitar, and what's the other one I'm missing?
Love Goes.
Yeah.
That's a good one too.
Yeah. So I was originally going to record those 3, and I was staying on Caleb's couch in Nashville, and I said, hey man, I know you said you'll never record Maker's Mark, but I'm here, I'm about to record these 3 songs, and if you're never going to record it, why won't you let me? And he said, if you want to record it, go for it. So then
Awesome.
Maker's Mark. So yeah, it's crazy how now that I'm actually telling the whole story at once, it's crazy how all the pieces tie together.
It is amazing. I mean, it's like you've with what you've done with the few singles that you've recorded and put out, they are just so good and strong. So let's talk about your plans for your new single. It's called My Guitar. Wow, that is some great lyrics. That beat up old guitar, the image of the image of your heart. I mean, like I just get lost in that song. So
Well,
what's your
thank
plans
you.
for it?
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. So that one I actually wrote in probably 5 minutes. However, the song had been like sitting on a piece of paper, not written yet, just like the idea. I was sitting in my dorm room, and I went over to my neighbor at the time. So he's in my fraternity. His name's Brian Duncan, and I said, hey, I want to write this song. I have this idea about like comparing your guitar to your life, and how like it like changes with you as you get stressed. You play it more. As you get happy, you play it, and all this stuff. And I had written down. I was trying to find this piece of paper actually a couple days ago before our first interview, because I know I have it somewhere, but it had all this list of topics I wanted to bring up, and then I kind of forgotten about it. And then, so this is, let's say, maybe probably a year and a half ago. And then about 6 months later, I sat down in the basement of my mom's house, and I just cranked out the song, and I literally wrote it in like 5 minutes.
Great, strong song. So
Thank you.
is there plans to release that to radio or just to streaming? What is your plan there?
Yeah, I honestly don't know how radio works. I didn't know if like radio just picks it up from Spotify, but if you guys have tips on how to get it on the
Oh
radio,
yes, you need to go on to our okay, I'll tell you what you need to do. Go on to our Texas Toast podcast and look up the interview we did with Jen from Generate Radio Promotions. There, that's an orientation that'll take you to school on everything, and then we'll discuss some stuff after we finish the interview. But and that's what's so great about our Texas country industry, is that there's so much support there. There's so much camaraderie. Like I know that as musicians, y'all have your own little, like everybody's like a family, but we all support each other, from venues to the media to producers to the studios to the songwriters to the radio promoters, and that is what is so amazing. And our guest that we had on this past week is Linda Wilson from Texas Country Music Association. That's a great resource for musicians coming up as well. But we'll direct you to that particular podcast, and then we'll visit after we get through. But that'll be something that you'll need to, kind of familiarize yourself with as you get more into the career, because the singles that you have are so solid. I mean, you caught our attention, and I'm so glad we're getting to visit with you. So My Guitar, everyone check it out and go to your streaming, because you have all of your songs there. So I do know that I saw in some of the notes that your original plans were to spend a lot of time in Nashville songwriting, but you decided to kind of focus your efforts more here in Texas.
Right. Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you so much for those kind words. I appreciate it. But yes, this summer, so I've been talking with some like companies in town in Nashville about just writing and getting my foot in the Nashville scene, which I'm still trying to not decide, because I don't feel like I need to, but there's always this talk about the Texas country and the Nashville country. And I mean, I think in some points they merge into each other with Colby over to Nashville. But yeah, right now I'm just trying to figure out my sound and see where it works best. But with that being said, I've had a lot of people and companies in town, people in town telling me that I just got to get to Nashville, start writing, like get in front of the right people if I want to make the kind of jump. So that was the goal. I was talking with some publishing companies, and I was going to go to Nashville June 1st, and a couple of so backtrack a little bit. I had a internship lined up in Texas for the summer because obviously I'm a business major, and that's kind of what you're supposed to do after
Right.
you go into the internship and get ready for the real world. So I had an internship lined up, and I was gonna pretty much call them and tell them, hey, I'm pursuing this music career. You guys know about it. I'm sorry, but I won't be working in 2 weeks. I was going to go to Nashville, and I kind of had a freak out about it, about how I'd be making money and paying 2 rents and all that stuff. And am I ready yet? I've only played 5 shows. Like, am I just going to get washed in this sea of fantastic talent? So I decided against it a couple of days before making the decision. And I figured I'll just stay in Texas, keep writing songs, keep doing what I'm doing.
Yes.
Keep living as a college kid to get these experiences to write in these songs and make money. So I'm doing the internship, 40 hours a week, still doing that, making money that I can then use to pay for the songs. So, I mean, I definitely think I made the right decision there. And the other thing is, and people have told me this, like, Nashville is going to be there next year, and Nashville is not going anywhere. So I think for me to come in a year later with a couple more songs under my belt, a little bit more confidence and stuff like that might benefit me more than going and getting washed away there this past summer.
I absolutely think that was a great call that you made there. Yeah, because you know,
but thinking, but
yeah, that's great. Well, like I said, you've got some good stuff with what you put out so far. We can't wait to see what's coming up. So on a personal side, what do you like to do? What are your interests or hobbies?
Yeah, I love playing basketball. So I play with my roommates and my friends. We go probably play at the rec 3 times a week. I would say I like working out, but I don't think I like working out anymore. It's kind of sure. You just have to do it to stay in shape. But yeah, I mean, I love hanging out with my friends, playing basketball, writing songs. I guess that's tying back into music stuff. But yeah, friends, family, sports, watching sports. I love football. TCU sports, anything TCU, I'll watch baseball.
I'm huge baseball. Yeah, wait. And as soon as we get through with this interview, the Yankees and the Astros are playing. That's going to be a good game. Oh my gosh. So yeah, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to make a plan. We're going to give you some time to get some more music out there and, get out there and start playing, because I have no doubt that you're going to do great. And then we're going to have you back on the podcast, and we'll catch up on new music as you're putting it out and as things are progressing and growing for you, Clayton.
Cool. Sounds like a plan. I'm excited.
All right. Well, we were so happy that we could visit, and everybody check out Clayton Mullen. Where can they find all your information?
Yeah. So it's Clayton Mullen Music on most platforms, TikTok and Instagram. And then Clayton Mullen on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, not SoundCloud, I don't think. But yeah.
Yeah. So didn't you have some big TikTok stuff?
Yeah, TikTok's kind of where all my streams, I assume, are coming from. My TikTok has done really well, which has been huge for me. So I think I'm almost at 20,000 followers, which in retrospect is nothing compared to other people, but it's definitely starting to create a small fan base for me, which is pretty cool.
Yes. Well, everybody check out Clayton Mullen, start following, because I know we're going to have a lot to keep up with you. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Clayton. And one last question, since you are 21 now, if you were a cocktail, what would you be?
Cocktail, probably an old fashioned, just because I like drinking them.
Okay. Thank you so much, Clayton, and best of luck to you. And we're going to be following you.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Have a good one.
And with a heavy tongue, she knew where I was from. As she left, I dared to say, well, you can go to hell. Hell, I'll go to Texas. I've had my fill of every place but home.